We had frank discussions over this ministerial lunch for Shangri-La Dialogue, and if I can paraphrase, a number of ministers spoke up because these are sessions that we allow speakers, not a formal agenda, but to just speak their impressions. What came across from a recurring theme, both from starting from Prime Minister Najib's talk last night to Secretary Gates to the various plenary sessions, were a few clear trends. That one, the economic weight, the political weight, and the modernization of the militaries increasingly shifting eastwards to this part of the world, from Atlantic to Pacific. And the strategic importance, therefore, in the next 1-2 decades, will increasingly shift to this part of the world. The second increasing trend was how complex security challenges are, whether it's piracy, whether it's drug trafficking, human trafficking, natural disasters, security issues are increasingly complex and transnational, which meant that no one country could tackle the issues, whether it was maritime surveillance or security, whether it was trying to solve drug trafficking, human trafficking, piracy. And a case in point, as was mentioned in lunch, was the multinational force in the Gulf of Aden off the Horn of Africa, where Singapore has commanded twice as Combined Task Force 151. And this was a multinational team. And how, indeed, Minister said, one Singaporean who received him at the airport and says, well, you know, I stepped on Russian soil, but it was actually a Russian boat in the Gulf of Aden. And just illustrates how interconnected we are, how interdependent we are to solve our current issues and security challenges. In that context, all the ministers recognize that new evolving security architectures were needed because there's a shift in the balance, there's a rise in new complex problems, and how relevant Shangri-La Dialogue was. They were, many times over, the various ministers said that they found great value in attending the Shangri-La Dialogue. And of course, this year's, we all thank the Chinese Defense Minister Liang Kuan-lieh for being here, and he himself said that he found the Shangri-La Dialogue to be extremely useful and that he wanted to be here to just listen, hear and think, and of course speak. And I think there was a feeling across the board that the Shangri-La Dialogue has increasing importance. In that context also, in this region, ministers express that the ADMM, the ASEAN Defense Ministers Meeting Plus architecture, which was inaugurated last year in Hanoi, was timely as well as inclusive and relevant to security challenges in this part of the world. Many shared that they concurred that the centrality of ASEAN in that architecture would be pivotal, and made sense as a good balance to balance to the various partners that were in the architecture. We also talk about concretely how we could move towards practical cooperation and confidence-building measures. And case in point, which drove this home, was the fact that within the last year, there were natural disasters that affected member states that were attending lunch. If you think about it, there were the earthquake in Japan, and Fukushima, the Japanese defense minister was there, the earthquake in Christchurch, the typhoons in US, and it drove home the point that responses required speedier response to deliver in terms of transportations, in terms of aid, in terms of humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, and no one country had the capacity to respond in a in a robust way and swift enough. So the idea was floated that we should focus on a HADR preparedness to allow us to be able to respond adequately when disasters strike. And one of the expert working groups under the ADMM Plus was Vietnam and China, who are in charge of the humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. And I think they will take it up and see where concrete plans can come out of it. So in summary, I would say that it's been an extremely productive ministerial lunch. There was a general satisfaction and acknowledgement of the value of the Shangri-La dialogue and the relevance of the ADMM Plus structure.